Yes guys, so welcome back to another video. Today we're going to dive into yet another training, and it's going to be all around prospect focused pitching. This is going to be another two-parter, so make sure you stick around. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, drop a like, drop a comment, all that kind of good stuff to fuel my ego. But what I see too often is when it comes to people selling their services and delivering the pitch, it's way too generic, and it's the same thing that you say to every single prospect that comes onto your calls, no matter their problems, no matter their uniqueness to the person before them. So what I want you to do is basically build out a pitch that's so specific to the individual that sat in front of you that it becomes even more of a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer close. Now, this has been part and parcel of the way that I've sold, of the way that I've taught all of the teams and all of the closers and all of the coaches that I've taught. And it works in a really dramatic way. It handles a lot of objections before you even get to that part of the call. And it puts them in a place where they feel like they've been heard. They feel like you understand them on a much deeper level, and it gives them the ability to have such confidence in what it is that you deliver. But this is just a no-brainer. And the ability to get more paid in fulls, those chances increase dramatically. So stick around. Hope you enjoy the video. Let me know what you think in the comments.
And today we are going to focus on prospect focused pitching, turning this into a complete no-brainer close. Now, we're going to go through the common mistakes, the common problems that you're having when it comes to relaying your pitch to the prospect, why it works, why it doesn't work. Then obviously building a higher quality pitch that's going to drastically increase your conversions, lower the resistance, and ultimately lower the objections that you'll get as well. Pitch is a place where a lot of people get wrong. So we're going to dive into the ins and outs. We're going to look to see where we can improve. I'm going to give you some examples, but this is something where you'll have a little bit of homework to go away and start to build out this pitch for yourself. Don't just watch this video and go back to everything that you've been doing previously. Make sure that you take notes. Make sure that you start to break things down. Go away, build out your pitch, and repeat it back to yourself as often as possible until it feels natural. So when it all comes down to it, we want to make the prospect feel as though your product or service solves their very specific problem. And this doesn't just sound like it's a problem that you solve for everybody else. So let's kind of get stuck into it. So let's get into it. So the core concepts here. So it's about making your pitch so specific to the individual prospect that it becomes a no-brainer for them to say yes and pay you in full. Remember, paid in full is closure. We want to reduce the ability or reduce the risk of people wanting to take on payment plans because they're looking to dip their toe. They're looking for risk aversion. So if we can nail down a pitch and make it so specific to the individual, the likelihood of us getting a paid in full is a lot higher. And I don't know about you, but I like cash flow and I like cash in the business. I also like the prospect to be as committed as possible to the end result. And typically if they pay in full, generally speaking, that's what we're looking at. So the golden rule, let me get on this. The golden rule, stop selling solutions and start selling the cost of inaction. So very often we've been taught that the pitch is all about features, benefits, go. But the issue being is that's what most people do. They can find the features that you have in your program are going to be very similar to any other program out there. The benefits to the features, again, can ultimately be very similar to everything else that's out there in the market. So that's where you can start to become price compared, where they can make it feel as though like they've heard this before, they've done something similar like this before. So what we need to start doing is bringing in the cost of inaction throughout the pitch or bringing elements of it in order to really drive home the importance of them making change. There's things that we're going to be doing with pre-pitch as well, which I'll go into a little bit more detail in a moment. But yeah, stop selling solutions alone. Simple. So here we find the problem with traditional pitching. You've been taught the wrong way. So we'll start this from just naturally being in a sales call. So you've been taught to set the agenda, diagnose the problem, future pace, and then pitch off of excitement. The issue being is then you end up handling the objections based on the consequence of not buying your program. That's typically what happens. So you can see there in the bullet points in regards to the way that it is. So this might sound a lot like your pitch. We're going to use fitness as an example. This may already sound a lot like your pitch, so don't take it personally. But this is just typically the way that we've been taught. So okay, cool. So what we do is this is the XYZ program. It's a 12-week program. It helps men over the age of 30 like you that want to drop 10 pounds and get in the best shape of their life, and they've struggled with time, motivation, and knowing what to do in the gym in the past. We do this we set up a WhatsApp group, we set up a training program where we do this, and focus on, progressive overload. And we've got a nutrition program where we do this to make sure that you know exactly what you're eating. We've got the app. We'll upload you onto the app, and you'll have all of these various different bits, and we'll be able to check in weekly. The support is just second to none. I'll be speaking to you every single day. We'll check in weekly. We'll jump on call. I'll send you a Loom video. All these various different things, just so that we can make sure we're monitoring and tracking your progress so that you can get the best results possible. Just like we did with Steve here, who lost 20 pounds in 6 weeks and whatever else, and you start to maybe share your screen and show them. Now, okay, I've exaggerated a little bit of how poor that would be, but you can notice the similarities to what may be in your pitch currently. Now, the problem with that is it sounds like always use the example of when chat up a girl, or the other way around, is you see it in the movies where they give them a compliment and they say, "Oh, I bet you say that to all the girls," or "I bet you say that to everyone." That's what it sounds like. It just sounds like this is the same thing that you spout off to every single person on every single call. It doesn't sound very specific. It doesn't sound very personal. Therefore, they're not going to feel like it's for them. It's just not going to feel like a good fit. But here's some of the pros for that format. It's very easy to memorize and remember, again, and that'll typically show in the way that you reveal it. You can make it sound like a very simple step-by-step process, so you can give them clarity on how you actually work together. Can give a clear explanation of what you do. It keeps the structure and the consistency of the pitch, so it's very hard to make mistakes with what it is that you deliver. And it can help identify possible objections. AKA, they might say, "Oh, well, I don't need that," or "Oh, that sounds like a lot," so on and so forth. The cons being, it sounds scripted. It just sounds like a TV radio advert. It just doesn't sound very good. It's not tailored to the specific prospect. It's an information overload. You just talk for 5 to 10 minutes, and they just sit there like, it's a nightmare. You don't ever want that to be the case. The entire conversation prior has been you two having the forward and back, the reciprocity of a conversation. Now all of a sudden it's shut up and listen to me for 10 minutes. Yeah, it ain't gonna fly. It gives them thinking time. It allows them to mentally check out. AKA, this is a lot of information. It sounds like a lot. I'm probably gonna need to think about it. It only addresses the very obvious problems that they already know about. And we'll come into what that means in a little bit later, but effectively, this is where the specificity comes in. It's a one-size-fits-all approach. You're just giving the same pitch for every single person. Square peg, I struggle with that. Square peg, round hole, trying to force fit solutions, aka, even though your problems is this is always going to be the solution. And it never ends well. It never, ever ends well. So the fatal flaw being, you're going to give the same pitch to everyone, even though each prospect believes their problems are unique and different to everybody else's. We're all selfish. We're all needy. And we all want our particular specific things to be solved. I don't care about anybody else. That's why I don't really care about the case studies at this point. I only care about whether you can solve my problem and whether I feel as though you can actually do that. They want to feel seen. They want to feel heard. They want to feel like you care and that you have the solution. So let's get into it. So obviously, if you've already done the previous training, the £6 million sales framework, we'll know this already. Pain, future, consequence, pitch. What this means is we can then objection handle around the cost of inaction, the consequences of just not taking action, rather than the consequence of not doing our program specifically. So it isn't going to stink of a sales pitch of pushy and being pressured and all these various different things. It's the cost of inaction in its entirety, which is what we want to do. So let's get into some of the pre-pitch side of things. So before you pitch anything, so once we've done the consequence side of things, and we may have covered this in the previous training, we need to tie things down. And again, this is before they even know what it is that we do. Are you sure this is something that you absolutely want to do? Is now the right time for you to actually make this change? Will you do everything within your power to achieve the results you actually want? And are you absolutely ready to take action on this? So we just want to find ways that we want to get commitment to change first and foremost. It doesn't matter what the pitch is. I want to know that they're ready to commit. So there'll be times in conversations where I've had say, listen, do you want me to run you through exactly what it is that we do? And I'm like, oh yeah, please. And I'm like, well, before I even do that, the one thing that matters to me is regardless of what it is that we offer, are we ready to commit to change today, no matter what that is? Are we committing to doing something different so that we don't end up with the same result? Yes, definitely. Okay, and why are we ready? I just want to tie down the commitment. That's all I care about. It wouldn't matter if I'm now pitching Zumba hula hoop sessions. Like they want to change. This is the solution. Let's kind of get into it. Only proceed to the pitch after getting positive confirmation to all of those various different questions. If you get a tie down, a good tie down and a confident tie down, go onto the pitch. If you get any element of hesitation, you have to handle it there. You have to handle it there, because otherwise it will not matter what's in your pitch. The hesitation is the issue. It's the commitment to change, which is the problem. So you need to make sure that you tie those things down first. If you don't, you've got work to do. So as an example, if you're getting into it and you say, listen, is this something that you absolutely want to do? Or why is now the right time to actually make this change? Or is this now the right time for you to commit to making this change? And they do something along the lines of, oh, yeah, I think it is, I definitely feel like I need to. That's something to challenge, because the hesitance and the language that they're using isn't positive. So I would want to get into that and ask questions along the lines of, listen, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to do anything, but is this something that you actively want to do? I can't force you to do anything that you don't want to do, but do you want to change? Yeah, yeah, I do. Well, there's a little, I sense a little bit of hesitancy, which is fine. Help me understand where the hesitancy is potentially coming from. Now here lies what the real objection would be if you get to the end of the call, and it may be a case of that they're a little bit fearful. Again, see previous training all around fear and how to handle it. But they may be fearful, and if they're fearful, it won't matter what's in the pitch. So you've got to handle it and you've got to overcome it. And they might even bring things up like, well, I don't even know what it is. Don't even know what it is that you do. So we reframe that as, so I'm not asking you to make any kind of commitment to me or any kind of program that I have. I'm asking you to right now make a commitment to the fact that you want to make a change. Regardless of what comes next, are you ready to do something different? Well, I mean, again, I don't know what the program is. This isn't about signing up to a program right now. It's about whether you're ready to do the thing that you said you want. Because if you're not ready to do it, then it won't matter what it is that I offer, because you won't be able to do it. We want to reframe the way that they think. This isn't about selling them a service or a product. It's about commitment to change. And if they aren't willing to commit to change, there's not much that you can do for them. So the prospect focused pitch structure. So this is some advice that I give to near enough everybody. A lot of my one-to-one clients will break this down in a big way as well. And what this will also do, side note, tangent, is help you map out and build out content as well. So break down your service or program or how you get people results into 3 to 5 clear phases, steps or core pillars, whatever. It doesn't matter. It could be, okay, so step 1, we do this. Step 2, we do that. Or this is phase 1 and everything that encapsulates phase 1. Step phase 2 is this, so on and so forth. Whatever you have there, let's go on that tangent. You can separate that from this pitch side of things, go away, separate them up and go, right, well, let's look at every issue, problem, motivation, aspiration, struggle, pain point, conversational topic, whatever can I think of to do with step 1, which is nutrition. Like, straight to nutrition. Okay, cool. Content, blast all that out. There's a core pillar of content. Same with number 2, which could be, exercise training, injury prevention, mindset. Who cares what it is? What I'm saying is you can use how you get people results and the 5 pillars or the 3 pillars or the core steps, whatever it is. You can then break that down into one big overall piece of content or 5 sections with about 50 different things that come off the back of them as well. So you'll never run out of content. If you properly understand what your pitch is, it'll help you create content as well. So here's an example. Phase 1 is foundation building. Phase 2 is implementation. We've got optimization, mastery, and maintenance. Step 2 is customize each phase. So this is where you really need to understand your service inside out, like the back of your hand, which sounds like a very simple thing to say, but you'd be surprised how many people don't actually know what it is that their stuff does inside their program for people. They just keep it real surface level, and that's when they struggle. So for each phase, explain exactly what it does, specific to their situation, why it's included based on their problems, how it solves their specific issues, and why it's relevant to their goals. So take a really quick example. So what it does, first phase being nutrition. Well, let's just keep it nice and simple. So what it does, so step one is where we focus on nutrition, helping you to understand the basics, helping you to understand what foods are going to work best for you for your specific goals. And in this case, you mentioned that you wanted to drop 10 kilos. So what we want to do is be able to set you up in a way where you can eat with no guesswork, having to sacrifice the foods that you enjoy, or feeling worried and stressed when you are eating out. Like you said, you travel a lot and have to eat out a lot with client meetings and all of these various different things, which can kind of cause you some stress and a little bit of overwhelm. So we're going to plan ahead of time, and we're going to have a really good understanding of exactly how you can control your calories in those environments without feeling like you're scanning the menu for just for salads. And what that's going to do is ensure that no matter what your work schedule is and where you're having to eat and meetings you're having to have and any kind of outside influences that are arriving, whether it be alcohol, social events, and and other things, means that we can continue to track your progress and move you in the right direction week in, week out. And obviously you mentioned that this was important because if there was one thing that was holding you back was the fact that you travel so much, and it's very hard for you to understand what to eat and when to eat. So do you believe that that's something that will bring you further away or closer to your goals? And they're obviously going to agree. So we'll get into how we break things up in a moment. We'd make it interactive. So you're going to explain your benefit, you're going to explain your feature and your benefit specifically to why it's going to help them with their goals. And this is where listening becomes crucial, because you want them to know that they've been heard. So when you go into detail around why it's in there because of their situation, it needs to be very, very apparent that you listened to them prior. So you don't need to take note of everything that they've said throughout the call, but you need to take note down key pieces of information. So make it interactive. We just don't want to sit there and talk for 5 to 10 minutes at a time. So break up each phase with questions. Does all this make sense so far? Yeah, it makes perfect sense. What about that? What about this first phase kind of stands out to you? Tell them to get them to give you reasons why they believe this is a great thing. Build certainty as we go through. Let's say you finish the phase. Can you see how this would actually help you with motivation, determination, who cares, whatever it is? Yeah, I can absolutely see it. Right. What makes you so confident about that? Oh, because of this. Okay, cool. Finish another phase. All right. Do you believe that if you'd had this in place previously, you probably would have achieved your goals by now? Yeah. So can we see how important this would be for you right now? Yeah, absolutely. Well, what about it is the most important thing, would you say? Or what about this is the one key thing that you may be missing right now? Again, we're building certainty. We want them to tell us how fucking great our thing is. How do you feel this addresses what you mentioned about you're traveling, you've got no time, you've got no motivation, whatever else? Oh, it would help me do ABC 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. So they're kind of talking themselves into this program the entirety of the way through, which is absolutely perfect for us. And step 4, reference their specific information. So throughout the pitch, constantly refer back to problems they've mentioned, goals they've stated, fears they've expressed, and situations they've described, and language they've used. But for God's sake, make it natural. It's going to become very obvious where let's go right on to phase 2. Now you mentioned this, so this. Slip it in naturally during things that you're explaining, wherever it may be. Just make it as natural as possible. Otherwise, you're going to sound like it's a sales pitch. What we're able to do is stop it sounding like a sales pitch because we're making them interact. We're making them a part of it, which is going to make it a lot more natural. So what I don't want you to do is use tones that just make it sound like a sales pitch, like an unnatural conversation where you're just talking at someone.
So end of part 1. We are now going to dive into part 2. Just nearly poked myself in the eye, but we'll completely ignore that. So hop over to the second video, jump into the links in the description if you want to grab some of the free stuff, if you want to head over to the Instagram, and if you want to see some links to some of the other videos in regards to these various different trainings. So I will see you in the next video.